Breadwinner is a children's movie about the conflict in Afghanistan set roughly 2001. It's about a young girl, Pavana, and how she must navigate a land under an oppressor regime which arrested her father, which requires her to dress as a boy to buy food for her family due to the regime's views on women, and is on the cusp of the American invasion. The grounded storytelling with a grand setting reminds me of the World War II epic, The Thin Red Line. Thin Red Line is about an arduous military operation on a remote tropical island by the Americans against a Japanese bunker and stronghold. Both movies use grounded storytelling to give a visceral sense of being caught in the conflict. Where The Thin Red Line emphasizes humanity's connection to nature to ground the conflict, The Breadwinner uses ideas of family to ground the tumultuous setting. What makes The Breadwinner so special is that it might be one of the only movies to provide this grounded look for modern-era conflict. So I'll go over how the much more famous movie, The Thin Red Line, achieves these things for the World War II epic, and explain how this is reflected in The Breadwinner, which allows it to be the archetypal film for showcasing the grounded eye-level view for conflict in the modern era. The Thin Red Line is a movie that tries to convey the human impact of conflict. It tries to really reduce the grandeur of conflict and increase the granularity of its effects to the individual people affected by it. This is shown by the internal dialogue of various characters, disparate flashbacks to the characters' civilian lives, and the grand level camera work. These mechanisms make the movie structure subject to the characters, their feelings, and the immediate space they occupy. This is essentially what the first Cloverfield movie achieves, with it being a found footage movie. The single location of an unnamed jungle also reduces the scope, which gives the feeling that the action and the setting of the war are not as important as this intimacy is trying to achieve. The Breadwinner shows the same level of intimate subjectivity to modern conflict and occupation. The Breadwinner firstly uses subjectivity and memory to convey macroscopic sociological and geopolitical shifts in the country, and this humanizes the people of Afghanistan. Slightly differently to the sharp juxtapositioned flashbacks of The Thin Red Line, which seek to convey personal connection to the conflict, The Breadwinner opens with an exposition in the form of the main character, Pavana's father, telling her about Afghanistan's history. The style of storytelling is subjective to the point of view of an Afghani civilian.
We studied the stars and began to see order amidst the chaos. We were scientists, philosophers, and storytellers. Questions sought answers, and then more questions. We began to see our place in the universe. But we were at the edges of empires at war with each other.
This shows how the people, or a large part of the people, feel about Afghanistan's history.
Children went to school, women went to university. All the empires forgot about us, for a while at least.
A conversation with a father, his former student, further conveys this.
I was your teacher once. You were a good student.
You wasted my time teaching me things of no worth. How old is the girl? Idris.
She's a child.
She's old enough to marry. I'll be looking for a wife soon.
She's already been promised to someone.
Well, she should cover herself properly.
Maybe you should stop looking at her.
What did you say to me?
And in the final scenes where Pavana tells a story about her brother being unlived by accidentally picking up a landmine, thinking it was a toy.
My name is Sulaiman. My mother is a writer. My father is a teacher. And my sisters always fight each other. One day I found a toy on the street. I picked it up. And it exploded!
Are you prepared to sacrifice the lives of any of your men in this campaign? How many? 1, 2, 20? Lives will be lost.
It was the end. I don't remember what happened after that. I picked it up because it was the end.
The writers try to use memory and subjectivity to frame those in the conflict. Much like The Thin Red Line, these sections show opinion and agency. It removes the idea that the sole identity of these people are passive fodder in these conflicts. But these people have lives and agency, and they must adapt their lives due to the geopolitical backdrop that they find themselves within.
Work my ass off.
brown nosed the generals. Degraded myself. For them and my family.
Secondly, the humanization angle is emphasized by the entire premise of the film. With Pavana's father captured for reasons that are typical to living under totalitarianism and/or a militarized occupation, the family must wonder who will provide for them. Who will be the breadwinner? The characters' most immediate concerns aren't the Western strategic interests, human rights atrocities committed under the Taliban, or even the rights of women. Even though these are important things, the most pressing issue is simply food security. It's through this that Pavana must disguise herself as a boy so that she may be permitted to leave her home to provide sustenance for her dependents. And it is this vehicle that demonstrates a double standard in female relations under this regime. It shows how the war affects the immediate interests of the people on the ground level, and the film becomes framed in this way throughout. In The Thin Red Line, there is a scene where a Japanese soldier aggressively yells at Private Wit in Japanese whilst he holds a gun pointed at Wit. Out of fear and not understanding Japanese, Wit attempts to quickly unholster his gun before being ripped apart. The scene shows the very real limitations of human beings, specifically in this case, the limitations of human communication and language barriers. Such limitations are only exacerbated to harrowing consequences in times of conflict. Much like the human limitations of intolerance and oppression manifesting in society where Pavana must dress as a boy to buy food for a family. In fact, upon translating the soldier's words, he didn't intend to hurt Wit if he surrendered. However, Wit could not have known this, and the audience could not have known this, given the scene did not have subtitles. We can only discover this after further reading and reflecting on the scene with a sense of a retroactive dramatic irony. Finally, The Thin Red Line uses a low camera position to place you in the shoes of our characters. The action is framed with a camera that is lower down at the character's shoulder level. The Breadwinner achieves this effect of spectacle experience at eye level via imagery like and the initial airstrikes at the end of the movie, which signal the beginning of the American occupation. So in conclusion, The Breadwinner is one of the most effective films at showing the most grand level view of people, not just within the Afghanistan war, but modern conflicts in general. It uses memory, subjectivity, and storytelling to convey the effects of the conflict for the Afghani people. The entire premise of the movie shows how the conflict affects the day-to-day operations of family life, and the cinematic framing of the conflict gives a grand level view of violence. These are the exact mechanisms utilised in The Thin Red Line. Though they are deployed differently, it uses quick flashbacks and internal dialogue to express the characters' subjective relationship to conflict. As opposed to family dynamics in The Breadwinner to showcase humanization, The Thin Red Line conveys it via scenes of confusion and hesitancy of the characters within the malaise of conflict, and via the conveyance of humanity's fundamental connection to nature, which the conflict itself takes place within. And finally, the grand level view of the conflict is shown via the avoidance of aerial shots when showing the conflict itself. Overall, both movies collectively display the harrowing effects of conflict and gives a visceral feeling to the audience in the way it displays these things. Conflict separated by time, technology, and ideology, universal in nature.
What's this war?
We are the fractured land in the claws of the Hindu Kush mountains, scorched by the fiery eyes of the northern deserts.
Black rubble earth against ice peaks.
Alright, thanks for watching everyone. I'm still trying to figure out my equipment configuration, so sorry for the audio being quite choppy. Also, still trying to figure out the sort of tricks on how to avoid copyright infringement. So, if anyone has any feedback below and any suggestions how I can improve, that'd be much appreciated. And see you guys hopefully soon on my next one.